started this working on this medical imaging since my PhD at NIT Raipur, and since then I'm working in this area, particularly in breast cancer and in some other image processing applications. Along with that, I am also working in several biomedical signal processing applications, particularly EEG and PPG. So these signal processing and image processing and their application in machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning applications in this area. So today, the presentation which I have thought will be like I'll be covering the medical image processing part along with some fundamentals in between and also the application part. And then I'll also discuss that what different studies my group is doing in my institute so that the research scholars and faculty members can be motivated to think some ideas from those studies and they can use such problems from for their PhD students and research scholars. So basically, when we define an image, any image, either it is medical or it is any other image, a image is always a two-dimensional function. Two-dimensional function simply means that I have a image can be represented in a form of matrix. It can be represented in a form of matrix. So that's why it is a two-dimensional function f xy, where xy represents the row and column, x represents the row and y represents the column, and the value of f, that is the value at fxy, f11, f22, this is called the intensity or gray level of the image. XY is called the spatial coordinate. Like in signal, we call time domain and frequency domain, right? So here we call the time domain word is not used in image processing. We call it as a spatial domain. We call it as a spatial domain. So the XY represents the spatial coordinates, and the value of f at a particular point XY is called its amplitude, which is called as intensity or gray level of the image. Now, in a very crude way, we can say that an image is represented by a matrix. Whenever I say image is nothing but a matrix. Computer stores it in a form of matrix. Whenever I want to process it using any software, then the computer always stores it in a form of matrix, and any value in this image is called pixel. Any single value is called what? Pixel. And the value of this pixel actually defines the gray level intensity or the color of the image at that particular point. If the value is high, it is generally a brighter area. If I talk about gray image or black and white image, and brighter area, and if the value is low, it is generally a darker area. So in binary image, the pixels will be either bright or dark. Means the pixels will be either 0 or 1. But in gray image, the term gray is used here. In gray image, the value is not 0 to 1, it is 0, and then it will have some highest value, say 255. This will represent black, this will represent white, and all the intermediate values will be gray shades. So that's why they are called gray values. All these values are called gray values. So a image is nothing but it is a matrix. It is represented as a matrix, and the pixels of the matrix or the values of the matrix are called gray level or gray intensity of the image. And as far as binary image and gray image is concerned, so in case of binary image as well as in case of gray image, it will have only single matrix. They are represented by single matrix. But in case of color images, for color images, we generally use some color model to represent it. Like for example, RGB color model. We generally use some color model to represent it. So in case of color images, the image is represented by three different matrices. Or we can, in other way, we can say that every pixel is represented by three values. One is its red component, other is green component, and the third is its blue component. So it will be something like this: 22, 55, 255, maybe 200, any value. So color images are represented by three different matrices, or in other way we can say that they are represented by every pixel is represented by three values. And that's why you must have got uh, an information that the processing of color images will be slightly difficult, because there we are processing three matrices for a single image, and in gray and binary image we are processing only a single matrix. So this is how we generally represent a gray image or a digital image. This is f00, f01, f0, m minus 1 if the number of rows are n into m. And every value of f will represent a gray value. Now, before starting medical image processing, let us first see that what are the key steps which are involved in any medical imaging problem, any medical image processing problem. There will be some key steps which is always followed. All the steps may not be always necessary, but most of these steps are necessary when we solve any medical imaging problem. So, as the first is the problem domain. Obviously, whenever we start a research, whenever we start conducting a research, the first step is to define the problem, to find the research gaps and to define the problem. Like if I want to work on breast cancer, so whether I will use ultrasound images, whether I will use mammography images, whether I will use MRI images, what work I will do segmentation or simply enhancement, restoration. So the first thing is to define the problem domain. And in any medical imaging work, in any medical imaging work, once you define the problem, one thing which is different from the traditional thing in medical work is to take the permission from ethical committee, IEC, that is Institutional Ethical Committee. Because this is very important to, if you want to collect your own data, if you want to do conduct your own study, you're not, if you don't want to use any data which is available in public domain. So in that case, you have to first take the permission of IEC. This is very important, Institutional Ethical Committee. Until and unless you take the permission of this, your study is not ethically valid. Okay. And then the second thing is you must take informed consent of the participants. Means if you are taking the data of some individual, some human sample, so you must take its informed written consent. Informed written consent that he or she is ready to give you his data, and that to use that data in your research. So these two things are very important in conducting any human or animal research. These two things must be followed. If you're working on some retrospective data means the data which is already stored in hospitals and you cannot get the participants for taking the consent. In that case, IEC, which is a committee, can waive off this informed consent, because obviously the persons will not be available. But in all the prospective studies, prospective means the data is not available, you will collect it. In that case, both these things are compulsory. So defining the problem, and then the second step is data collection. This image acquisition part is data collection. So in some cases, you can collect your own data. Like for example, if you work on signal processing, EEG, then lung sounds or heart sounds or PPG, so you can collect your own data. But in case of medical imaging, it is usually not possible for us engineers to collect the data, because obviously I'll not be able to. I'm not trained to handle the ultrasound machine or mammography machine, MRI machine. So the data collection word is more appropriate here, and data is collected from an expert clinician. The data must be collected by the expert clinician, and also the data should be labeled by expert clinician. Now, what is this labeling? Like, I'll give a simple example that let me give a simple example that if you want to collect a breast cancer data, okay, so you will collect some images. You will collect some images, and some images will contain tumor, some will not contain tumor, some will contain very simple tumors like this, some images may contain very complex tumors. So this is normal image and these two images contain tumor, contain some disease, and this is a non-cancerous tumor, means which is not dangerous, and this is dangerous, means it is cancerous tumor. Okay, so who will give you this information? This information has to be obtained from radiologist. Whether it is cancerous or not cancerous, this has to be uh, taken. This has to be taken from the laboratory, that is histopathology analysis. This should be laboratory confirmed, and the exact boundary of this tumor has to be taken from the radiologist. So these are called labels of the data. Only collecting the data is not sufficient, because that will be of no use to you. Only collecting the data from the hospital and doing anything by hit and trial will be of no use to you until and unless you also get the labels. Labels means the information about the data. What does it carry? Whether it is normal, but this normal, and if it is cancerous, whether it is, if it contains tumor, whether it is cancerous or not. So cancerous or not can be only proven in the laboratory. Okay, nobody can tell just by observing the tumor. So that's why the labels are very important when we particularly talk about medical image processing. Okay, so the first step is what? The problem domain, then data collection, and during the data collection, we have just seen that we also need labels. We also need labels, and once these things are available to you, now I am ready for data pre-processing. I'm ready for data pre-processing. So these two steps, that is image enhancement and image restoration, they are data pre-processing steps. Pre-processing is required for number of reasons. Like if my images, the acquired image is not contains lot of noises and artifacts, the image orientation is not proper, the image size is very big, so I want to reduce it. I want to because that large size image cannot be processed by the computer. So there are a lot of reasons for which this data pre-processing is required. Now, as far as image enhancement is concerned, image enhancement is basically, I think, yeah. So image enhancement is basically in just improving the brightness of the image, or improving means increasing or decreasing the brightness of the image. Like this is a darker image. Okay, so I've just improved its brightness. I have not done anything. And improving the brightness means what mathematical operation? So I just told you that image is nothing but a matrix. And if it is a darker image, sorry, if it is a darker image, then all the values will be low. All the matrix values will be low. So if I want to make it bright, I have to simply scale it by some constant, say maybe 20. Just scale it by some constant. So all the values which you will get here will be 2 to the 4, so 400, then 23 the 60, 40, and so on, 100, and so on. So you will get the scaled, these values will become larger. So obviously this is a bright image. This is a bright image. This is a dark image. So enhancement means to simply either improve the brightness or reduce the brightness. Either improving the brightness or reducing the brightness. Coming to the next, that is restoration. And there are a number of other techniques also of image enhancement. I'll discuss one or two, not all. Then we have image restoration. Image enhancement also improves the image quality, and image restoration also improves the image quality. But there is some difference in that. In image enhancement, as I told you, that you simply increase or decrease the brightness of the image. Okay, so that is actually a hit and trial procedure, that okay, the image is not looking good, so let me increase the brightness, maybe my objects will be clear. Now how much to improve, that depends on the user. We are the judge, the user is the judge, how much needs to be improved. Okay, but in image restoration, it is not a hit and trial method. This is not a hit and trial method. See, the word itself is indicating restore the image. It means that image is corrupted by some well-defined noise, the noise whose characteristics is known, maybe speckle noise or some additive or Gaussian noise, any kind of noise. So it is corrupted by some known kind of noises, some some known pattern of noise, and from that known pattern, I want to restore the image. That is called as image restoration. So image restoration is actually objective process, because here the objective is fixed. This is the noise, and this has to be removed. But image enhancement is a subjective process. Subjective process. Why? Because uh, here the which result is best is not is depends on the user. I have somebody has a scale by 10, then I'll scale by 20, then I'll scale by 30. Person A will say no, this scaling by 10 is the image which came after scaling by 10 is good. Somebody else will say no, the other one is good. So here user is the ultimate judge, but here it is an objective process. So the noise characteristics are known. Well-defined mathematical model is used to restore the image. This is called image restoration. But ultimately, either it is enhancement or it is restoration. Both results in improved quality of the image. Coming to the morphological processing, the third step. The third step. In morphological image processing is generally related to the morphology of the image. Like for example, you just see these images, these are fingerprints. Okay, so while taking the fingerprint, uh, the lines, the fingerprint curves are not connected, they are disconnected. Okay, so morphology deals with what? Morphology deals with some shape related analysis. Shape related analysis. Okay, I'm doing segmentation or something, and there is not proper connectivity in the in the edges or boundaries. Then this morphological processing is used to connect the uh, boundaries or edges which are not connected. Like in this particular fingerprint image, you can see that there the connectivity is not linked. Like here, okay, or here, it is slightly improving. So particularly in this case, the connectivity is not proper. So morphology is related to that, filling the holes of the or filling the disconnectivities, that comes under morphological image processing. The next step is segmentation. Segmentation is the process in which the different objects in the image are separated or extracted. For example, in this image, you can see that I have an object. So this is one object, and this is also the object. But then there is a shadow also here. This is a shadow. This is a shadow. I want to remove this shadow and I want my object back. So this is called segmentation. Segmentation is a process in which we segment or extract the object of interest. Okay. And so this is the result after segmentation. And then the next is object recognition. Okay, I want to inform one more thing, that if by any chance I get disconnected because I'm using Institute Internet, so it has some fixed time. So if I get disconnected, please call me. I'm keeping my phone near me only, so please call me. Okay, so the next is object recognition. After segmentation, the next step is generally object recognition. Object recognition is a process in which we try to recognize different categories. Like in the last example which I gave you, the cancer was of two types. The tumor was of two types. The tumor was of two types. One was non-cancerous. So non-cancerous is generally called benign tumor, and the cancerous is generally called malignant tumor. So I want to categorize these two tumors with the help of some descriptors or features, like for example, area, orientation. This can be some features with the help of which I want to differentiate that what is the general pattern of benign and what is the general pattern of malignant. This is called object recognition. Like here in the figure which you are observing, this is a very popular figure in image processing. Three types of flowers. These are three types of flowers: Iris virginica, Iris versicolor, and Iris setosa. So these three flowers are categorized by using two features. One is petal length and other is petal width. And it can be observed that feature area for Iris setosa is very small, the petal length as well as petal width. This axis is petal width and this axis is petal length. So both petal length and petal width are smaller for this third category of flower, which is Iris setosa, while all the triangle are, you can find the triangles are somewhere here. These are the triangles. So these are what? Iris virginica. So for Iris virginica, the petal length and petal width are high. Okay, and for the third case, that is Iris versicolor, this is for the this is for the first flower, and for the second case, that is Iris versicolor, the petal length and width come somewhere in between. It is in mid. But there is some overlapping between 1 and 2, obviously. From the figure, it is clear that there is some overlapping between 1 and 2. So this extracting this petal length, petal width, and with the help of these features, we are trying to recognize some objects. This is called object recognition. Okay, and then we have representation and description. Representation and description is, again, it is related to feature only, feature extraction. As you can see from this image, this is example simply. Just assume that this is the image. Okay, this is the image, and the image contains what? Some kind of tumor. It is. This is a tumor. These dots which are. This is any object. This is any object. Okay, this is any object you can see, and I want to represent this object with the help of some code or some number. So that is also that is a representation and description. Like this is the result. You see, we are representing it by a code. So if this object is going in right direction, I am coding 0. If it is going downwards, I am coding 3. If it is going in this direction, I'm coding it to be 2. If it is going upward, I'm coding it to be 1. And by using this rule, this figure is obtained. By using this rule, this figure is obtained. Like you can see that here in the top, two two zeros, then it is coming down. So it is 3. Okay. And obviously, it may not be exactly like here, there is some change in the shape. Like for example, it is coming like this, then it is like this, then it is slightly changing. So this small change is not considered. Why it is not considered? Because it is coming in the same quadrant. This is one quadrant. Sorry, this is one quadrant. So if it is coming in the same quadrant, this small change is not considered. So it is also that's why this line is coming a straight line, because the changes here in this side in vertical area is small. So we get one now we have got one code. So we can represent this whole object by a code, something like 003333 like that. And this is if the points taken are less. It is almost similar to sampling and quantization. If you all remember, this is similar to quantization. Okay, here if I use the same code, what will I get? I'll get this. Okay, then so here I'm using a different code. Here I'm using 8 connectivity. This rule is called 8 connectivity. If you study image processing, this rule is called 8 connectivity. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like this. Maybe here it is used is different. Here they have used this as 0, okay, and then this as 2, this as 2, this as 7. So just for the direction, we make some codes. So this is 0, then this is 7, and then this is 6, and so on. We get a code. So this is called representation. We are describing the particular, we are representing the particular object with the help of some numbers, some codes. This type of code in image processing is called chain code. Okay, and then we have image compression. In image compression, we try to reduce the size of the image. We compress the image. JPEG, TIF, PNG, all these are example of image compression techniques. It can be either lossy or lossless. So that is a separate domain. That's why it is written separately. It is not always the part of this general image processing technique. And finally, color image processing is another domain, because that as I told you that color image processing is slightly computationally expensive. Color image processing is slightly expensive. So that's why it is not always used. In case of color image processing, in case of color image processing, generally what happens is it is converted into grayscale image and then it is processed. However, if it is compulsory to that we need some color information to be analyzed, then it is processed as it is. So these are the different steps which is involved in any medical imaging problem. Either it is digital imaging, and each of the block which you have just seen here is a different research area. You know, image restoration is different research area, segmentation is different research area, object recognition is a different research. All these are different research areas. Many people do their PhD in segmentation only. Okay, many people will do in denoising only. People do in that. Okay, so with this background, I hope now you are clear with some fundamentals of this. What is digital image processing or what is medical image processing, and now you are clear with what are the different steps. I will now start with one application, that is breast cancer, and then later we will see some more applications related to medical image processing and also biomedical signal processing. So this is the first application which I'm talking about. This is breast cancer application. And breast cancer is a very serious problem. If you'll go to the statistics, you'll see that it is one of the main causes of death of women. It is the second leading cause.
క్లాస్ కోసము
Okay.
అడుగుదామని
And it
వెళ్ళిన ఆమె
accounts
క్లాస్
for more
క్లోజ్
than
చేసేసింది. ఇంకో క్లాస్
1.6%
తీసుకుందాం.
of the death due to cancer in women. And obviously, it is more common in the women who are in urban areas because of the lifestyle factors and many other factors. It is more common in women who are residing in the urban area compared to the rural area. So what is the solution? You know, if it is detected at later stages, the chances of survival are very less. So the only solution is early detection. The only solution is what? Early detection. Now, what is done for early detection? This is the next question. What is done for early detection? Now, in developed countries, particularly like US, you know, they organize yearly camps for breast cancer screening, in which women of age greater than say 50 or 60, they get scanned every year whether they show any signs of breast cancer. So the early detection is if at early stages this cancer is found or the symptoms are found, then there are many chances that the disease can be cured, particularly for breast cancer. Okay, so early detection is the only solution. And how this early detection screening can be done? So it is done using mammography and ultrasound. These are the two main screening techniques. These are the two main screening techniques of breast cancer. And remember that they are screening techniques, means they are imaging techniques. They are not diagnosed. They, means by screening using mammogram and ultrasound, you cannot tell whether it is cancer or not. So they are just to observe whether there are some early signs of cancer or not. So mammography and ultrasound are the two screening methods which is used for breast cancer. And the third, there are few more modalities we are coming like MRI, breast elastography. But at present, mammography is the first choice, ultrasound is the second choice. Okay, some other modalities are there, but MRI is generally used for staging, breast cancer staging, not for screening. Okay, so we'll talk in brief about mammography and ultrasound, and then we will move further. So, what is mammography basically? Mammography is nothing but it is the X-ray of breast. You all know what is chest X-ray and X-ray energy. So, it is X-ray of breast, and that it uses low energy X-rays. It uses low energy. This is the general procedure. Okay, the breast is completely compressed and it is made as flat as possible, and then X-ray beams are transferred and then the image is taken. So from this, it is very clear that it is a very painful procedure because breast has to be completely compressed and then it is made as flat as possible. So that's why it is very painful procedure. The second drawback is what? That it includes radiation. That is the second problem, that it includes X-ray radiation. Screening by mammography every year means you are exposed to radiation every year, which is also problematic. Okay, but these are the drawbacks. But what is the advantage? What is the advantage of mammogram? What mammogram shows? So mammogram, why it is most preferred is that mammograms can show very early signs of cancer. Which this is these small dots which you are observing. These is all very small dots. You can see. I'm making this in the region which I have shown. I have just curved out. So these are called calcifications, small deposition of calcium in the breast, and these are early signs of cancer. Okay, so uh, mammogram is once a mammogram can get these early signs, can show these calcium depositions of the breast, and when these calcium depositions are there in the breast, at that time the patient does not feels any symptom. The person does not feels any symptom. So before the subject is feeling any symptom, this thing can be observed. So that's why mammogram is more preferred. And then by using some image, so obviously the resolution is very low. Here the resolution is very low. So the solution is image processing. We can use some image enhancement and uh, processing, image processing application, so that uh, the the calcium depositions can be enhanced. Like in the second figure, you can see that it is more clear. Okay, so that's why mammogram is most preferred. It is very good to indicate. It is very successful in indicating the early signs of cancer. And then there are some more uh, more results. Like these are some uh, more calcifications here, and you can see that the resolution is so poor. But image processing applications like thresholding and region growing, these can be used to locate these calcifications and as well as to quantify them. Quantify them means you can exactly know where they are located, how much they are located, what is their area, how much they have spread. So these things can be done with the help of image processing techniques. And as I told you, that it has some limitations. We talked about two limitations. One is that it is very painful, the second last point, and then also harmful to human tissue due to exposure to radiation. Okay, but there are some other problems also, like uh, it cannot detect cancer in the dense breast tissue of young patients. Though generally, cancer uh, does not occurs in very young patients, maybe say 30 years, less than 30 years or 40 years. But it has been observed, but now many cases are observed like that, and mammography is not successful in detecting cancer in the dense breast because dense breast is filled of milk glands, and that's why it is very dense. So it is not, it fails in detecting cancers in dense breast. Okay, and the other two are painful and exposure to radiation. These are the three main limitations of mammography, and that's why the alternative is ultrasound. The alternative is what? What is the solution to this problem? The solution to this problem is ultrasound. Why ultrasound is a solution? Because ultrasound is based on sound waves. It is not radiation. It is not harmful to the human body as X-rays. Okay, so it is based on ultrasound waves, and but the problem with ultrasound images is that what it includes lot of noises. The resolution of mammogram is very good. Mammogram image is very good, but in case of ultrasound, the resolution is very poor. So there are number of advantages of ultrasound. There are number of advantages of ultrasound, like for example, low cost, easily available. Okay, no radiation. Number of advantages. Portable. Number of advantages are there, but the problem is the noise. The interpretation of breast ultrasound is difficult because it contains an inherent noise called speckle noise, and also it has shadowing effects, which is the artifact. Shadowing effect is the artifact. Like this image you are seeing, the first image, it has some tumor here, but it has lot of speckle noise. The whole image has lot of speckle. Speckle means the dots which you are observing, they are speckle noise. And why these dots are from where these dots are coming? Actually, in ultrasound imaging, what happens that the ultrasound waves transfer the sound waves to the tissue. So some tissues will absorb them, and some will reflect back. So the reflected back echoes, they're called echoes. The echoes appear as dots in this ultrasound. If something is there in the body, like if cyst is there, suppose this is cyst, so cysts are filled with water. The water absorbs all the ultrasounds waves, so it will look at it will be observed as completely black region. But in other cases, if it is tumor, if it is solid tumor, so they will not completely absorb the ultrasound waves. They will absorb few. They will reflect back also. So this reflection from all the other areas result in speckle noise. And then there are some instrument related problems also, like shadowing effect is there. This is called shadowing. You can see that some lesion is there here maybe, and then at the edges or the boundaries of the lesion, this is shadowing. This one and this one. This is called shadowing effect. This black region. This is called shadowing. So this is due to this is instrument. These are instrument related issues which are inherent in the ultrasound imaging. This is one problem. Second problem with either mammogram or ultrasound, it is common to both is that physical examination or manual reading of images needs experience. Sometimes even experienced radiologists will have difficulty to correctly diagnose breast cancer. Will have difficulty in correctly diagnosing the breast cancer. It happens because sometimes you go to one doctor, show the images, he will tell something. You go to other doctor, he may tell slightly different, not exactly. Some will say no, it is not much dangerous. Other will say no, surgery has to be done. It is urgent. So there is variability among the clinical experts also. It is reported in literature, several literature, that there is too much variability in the clinicians. Okay, so what is the solution to all these problems? Mammogram has some problems, ultrasound has some problems. So the solution is computer aided diagnosis. The solution to all these problems is what? Computer aided diagnosis. So before going to this computer aided diagnosis, we'll just summarize that what are the different modalities for breast cancer. The first one is mammography, which is the most preferred, as I told you. The second one is, so mammography is a screening technique, not a diagnosis technique. It does not tell you whether it is cancer or not. It will only tell you that okay, some abnormal area is there. So for cancer, what is for detecting actually whether it is cancer or not, uh, biopsy analysis is required. Biopsy analysis is required, which is a lab-based study, histopathology analysis. The second thing is mammography followed by ultrasound followed by biopsy. Mammography followed by ultrasound followed by, sometimes ultrasound is also used together with mammogram to get the second opinion and then go for biopsy. Sometimes if mammogram machine is or not available in some hospitals, it is there that many hospitals do not have mammograms because mammogram is specific to breast cancer only. But ultrasound, is used for multiple things. So that's why ultrasound is more easily available. So ultrasound followed by biopsy is the ultrasound followed by biopsy is the second choice. But it is also used. But it is also used. And then the other modalities are MRI and breast elastography. These are upcoming modalities. MRI is generally used for staging, and breast elastography is generally used for analyzing the density of the tumor and other tissues. So these are upcoming modalities. I'll just take 30 seconds break. After 30 seconds, I'll continue.